let's talk about FTP and getting some accurate measurements. Okay, this test is from an individual that we did a cycling metabolic test on, blood lactate test on, utilizing our protocol. And he came to us and said his threshold, or I'm sorry, his FTP was at 155 watts. And he got that from a very popular cycling platform. And we have many articles, we'll put the link below, about FTP and the inaccuracy in building training plans just off of that number. This is why. All right, so his threshold actually came out to be 137 watts, okay? He was basing all of his training off of 155, which is a complete overshoot of where it should have been. So what that has done is now increased this VLaMax, because what he's been doing is overworking in his anaerobic energy system. So he's been going completely out of zone 2 where he should be, because his FTP number has bumped all of his training zones. So what he thought was his zone 2 was actually probably upper zone 3 into zone 4. So all he's done is just made that anaerobic energy system much bigger and actually started to hurt his VO2. That aerobic energy system hasn't been able to grow efficiently and effectively because all he's been doing is hammering away and overworking, which has led to some overtraining as well. Okay, so if he would have done an accurate test, having the accurate protocol, what we did today, when we found the accuracy in his threshold, he would have been able to dial in those training zones more specifically to increase this VO2, not increase the VLaMax too much, okay? And then that in turn would increase his threshold. So if you are overworking that anaerobic energy system and your goal is an endurance event, endurance race, you're not going to be able to increase that threshold because you're not building that bigger foundation, okay? To have a stronger anaerobic system, we have to have a platform of our aerobic energy system. So he was basically doing the opposite, which is what we see very, very frequently. So to follow that up, what's ended up happening as a counter to that, along with that, is his work to rest ratios. This is what you would get with the testing. We figure out here's without lactic acid. So this is basically that recovery area. Here's threshold. And then anything beyond that is just lactic acid producing, okay? More of that anaerobic energy system. When he did his FTP, the zones were set where he could work in this area, okay? Which is way too far, way too close to threshold for what he's been trying to do with building that aerobic base. He really needed to back off. So, and build more in this area, okay? And we will get more specific and dial this in for him. But the big take home here is that the FTP test that you're doing is not the most accurate measurement to help build that training plan and really achieve what you want for your specific training goals. So again, if your FTP has been overestimated, chances are you're going to overtrain and not get the aerobic benefit that you want, and vice versa. Let's say it's under measured. Now we're not going to push enough to really create the power and strength that you want and the speed that you want, okay? This applies the same for runners that do 20-minute, 30-minute ramp tests to try to find an estimated threshold or an estimated VO2. It's not going to be as accurate as it could be, okay? Please reach out. This testing can be done from anywhere. We have an in-person option and we have a remote option. This individual specifically tracked the entire test on his bike computer while we were taking blood lactate samples. We ran both data sets together and the squared error was below 0.1, which is an absolute phenomenal accuracy. So if you have any questions, please reach out. We're going to put the link below for you to get your own protocol. After the test, you'll get this full report, and we set up a full Zoom just like this to go over all of your data. We'll work with you. We have a lot of self-coached athletes. We have a lot of athletes that work with coaches and teams. We are here to help and work with everybody. So please reach out if there is anything that we can do.